It's the All Birdies No Bogeys podcast, your weekly disc golf analysis podcast right here on JomezPro. I'm your host, Brian Earhart. I am in Chengdu, China, wrapping up the World Games. My co-host, Nate Perkins, after a long Europe stretch, back in the United States. Little bit of rest for Nate. Nate, how you doing, my friend?
It feels really good to be back home. I think after traveling for so long over the years, you know, the distance away from my wife and from my house, it really gives me that perspective when I get back on like what a home does for you, what like a consistent routine does for you. So super grateful for all the travel, but really grateful to be back here in Oregon in the high desert. Typically it's like middle of smoke season here. Like the wildfire season is usually like in full swing, and that's not the case. It's been a good year so far, so the air is just like crystal clear. Went up to the lake yesterday with some friends, and the water is just perfect temperature for swimming. So really grateful to be back home. And you, my friend, you've got to be, speaking of travel, you did as much European traveling as me, and then you took another flight to the complete opposite end of the world. I mean, you know, where do you wanna start? Do you wanna start talking about Turku, over in Finland right now, or should we jump right into the World Games?
Well, yeah, this is my 6th or 7th week, something like that.
Dude, you gotta miss
Um,
Lindsay. How's
well,
Lindsay
I was going to say
doing?
that. Lindsay's doing great. She's doing great. Lindsay's doing wonderful. The cat, Crumbs, she's doing wonderful.
Crumbs?
Crumbs had to go to the vet, maybe a little upper respiratory infection, but I think she's going to
Oh,
be all right. However, huge perspective shift. I think we might have talked about this in previous podcasts, but Kristen is away from her daughter for many months at a time. So many of these players are away from their families and loved ones for multiple months at a time, and overseas in the United States, these European players for multiple months at a time. I'm away from my wife for this is the longest we've been apart. We lived in a car together for 7 years, God forbid. 6 weeks, the longest time we've been apart, and I am feeling it, and I understand now that added element that some of these touring disc golfers, have to deal with when they're out there. So,
being
I actually had
homesick.
a couple moments a couple moments, talking to Kristen, especially, I was like, I now get it. I understand, being away from your daughter for so long. That's probably even more of a precious bond than the person that you've chosen to marry. And yeah, I don't know. I have a lot more respect for these players, even more than I did previously. But yes, we go from 3 weeks in Helsinki, uh, 2 weeks in, Tampere, Nokia. Immediately on Monday, I get on a plane and I go straight to Chengdu. Kristen was on my flight, Evelina was on my flight, uh, Gannon, Thomas Gilbert, multiple players flying with me. That made the trip a lot easier. Wasn't alone. We all kind of potted up together and, got out there in the same group, which was nice. But I didn't know what to expect coming to China. Never been here before. It's 12 hours away. It's literally the opposite side of the planet, it feels like. Um, so right now it is 11:22 PM on
On the 10th?
Sunday,
Okay,
and it's
on the
8 AM where
yeah.
you are.
Yeah, wow.
Uh, but the trip in general was just absolutely wonderful, and I knew the World Games was gonna be a big deal. I knew it was, like, essentially the Olympics for sports that were just not gonna be in the next Olympics, and there's a lot of sports out there that are heavily represented in the East that are not as represented in the West, so I knew it was gonna be big. Multiple, variations of hockey, baseball, softball were there. There's some versions of track and field. Multiple, martial arts were there. There was a bunch of Muay Thai teams I saw training, and practicing and warming up around our hotel, and then including, ultimate and disc golf alongside many others. And you get off the plane, instantly there are like 3 or 4 volunteers that say, "Hey, World Games," and then you say, "Yes," and they point you down the hallway. You get down the hallway, there's markings, there's signs, there's logos everywhere. 3 more volunteers that say, "Oh, great, you're going in the right direction. Go this way." And then you go that way, and then they go, "Oh, come this way. You're in the right place." And then right away, there you are. There's your shuttle. You get on your shuttle. They take you exactly where you need to go. Everything was so beautifully marked. There was no way to screw the process up after leaving the plane. All the details got tied together, and you
Wow.
felt like a true Olympian, really. And really, a lot of these sports, were sending like the best of the best. Also, tug of war was in the World Games. I didn't get to catch any tug of war, but I can imagine that's a pretty intense game. There's different weight classes for it.
Different weight classes for tug of war. Did they do that indoors? Big rope? Classic
Uh,
rope?
there's got to be classic rope. What if there's
Yeah.
slippery rope? There might be butter rope. You know, little bit slippery. But
So
no,
how many
I didn't
sports
catch
did you
any
get
of
to
that.
watch? Like, outside
None.
of disc golf?
So
You were just
none.
calling disc golf, like, round the clock, then sleeping,
Yeah.
then waking up.
So here's what happened. So we moved forward a few hours going from Finland to China. Um, so we get there and immediately we have to get out to the course. We have 2 days to practice. I either got there on Tuesday. Yeah, I got there on Tuesday, like late on Tuesday. So Wednesday, Thursday were the practice days. Wednesday, I go out to the course early with Missy and Gannon and Thomas Gilbert and Sophia Donica. And it was the single hottest day I have ever spent on a disc golf course. It was absolutely absurd. I actually don't know what the uh, temperature was, but it felt like 115 degrees Fahrenheit. It was the hottest weather I've ever been outside for. And I was sitting in Finnish saunas like almost every day, like the week before. And this was unbearable.
Wow.
Gannon and Missy are like drinking a liter of water on every hole. Gannon is pulling ice blocks out of the coolers on each hole, which they did have water and ice blocks on every hole, which I thought was special. And he was just like icing his neck and his back. They made it through 11 holes, strategized a little bit on hole 11, and they left. And that was like their one day to practice. They were like, nope, we'll get back to the back nine tomorrow. Too hot. I talked to Kristen coming down the fairway of 5, and she's like, "I've never played disc golf where my entire shirt is completely soaked through, and I'm not even done with my round yet." She actually said it was so humid out there, the air was so heavy that her discs were not flying nearly as far as they normally do, and I actually haven't heard that much from her. Um, and she mentioned it was noticeably different, like, the holes that she would throw mid-range on, she was reaching for a control driver, so really interesting stuff out there. Um,
Wow.
it was super hot. There's a lot of things to do, but frankly, after that day, I was gassed. I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna just rest, I'm gonna catch up on sleep." I really haven't slept that well. I had to try to sleep on the plane on the way there. But the other beautiful thing, our hotel was directly across the street from the course,
Good.
which is in this, I think, Gwaji Eco Park was what it was called. It's right in Chengdu, 21 million person city. It's been around for 3,000 years.
21,000,000.
Hmm.
3,000 years old.
Yeah, and
Jeez.
they learned to control the water, like, I don't know if it was, like, tributaries or rivers, they learned to control it, like, 3,000 years ago, and that's how they kind of built the city around that, and, uh, uh, I learned a lot of really cool things about this place, but in the background of hole 10, is this thing called the Global Center, and it's the largest building in the entire world in some capacity, and it's the 3rd largest, without any middle supports at all. It's just a standalone building. It is massive. And in the background of hole 10, you see it. It's just looming in the distance. The skyline is everywhere. It's another one of those big international stages, just like we saw in Estonia, just like we saw in Nampere, Nampere, Nokia and Tampere.
That's perfect. Let's
This
run
was,
with that
it
from
was,
here on.
y- yeah. So
So
it was
wait,
a
what do they
wonderful
do in
setup.
that building, Brian? What do they do in the big building? Is it
There's
like
like
a
a water park, there's like a mall, there's restaurants,
wow.
there's a hotel. Uh, I'm guessing I didn't go. The Finns and the Americans took a trip out there, and it sounded like it was very similar to like Mall of America times 10. Just a massive, massive place. So the other thing is, right across the street from the course is the hotel that the players are staying at, and it's like the Olympics. You get in, you have to scan your whatever badge they give you for your sport or your job. You go through security every single time that you go into the hotel. It's super locked down, super secure. And every single day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner is catered by professional chefs, just like the Olympics. And the food was phenomenal. It was wonderful food. Uh, they had some like, American style food, very basic, but they also had a lot of authentic Chinese food in there. They had coffee running 24/7, or not 24/7, but all the hours that it was open. Um, and so, yeah, the players truly had everything that they possibly could have needed in that area. They never needed to scan their debit card one time from the moment they left the plane, from the moment they got there
That is
and ended their trip.
unreal. Where does, like, the funding you think come from for the World Games to support all the athletes?
I don't know. I'm sure it's the exact same as the Olympics, and I'm sure the budget for this is smaller than the Olympics. But I also don't know what it looks like in other places. I know it was previously in Alabama. I know in 2029 it's going to be in Germany. Uh, but here, the
World
production
Games was
value
in Alabama?
in 2022, yeah,
It wa wha
or
how
2021, something like
how
that.
random. It goes from the southeastern United States to Chengdu, China. Like, wonder where they had it in Alabama. Birmingham? So random.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I didn't quite look into that, but uh, it's a big deal. It's a big, big deal. And again, you're getting the national teams for some of these big time sports coming out here. And anyway, broadcast wise, I meet my co-host. His name is Brendan Telfer. He's from Australia. He lives now in the Cook Islands. He previously owned a TV station in Australia for a long time. He did radio for a long time, and he was a reporter. That was his first job, and he told me a story. His first gig was 1984, the Olympics. And I believe, is that LA? Is that what the Olympics were in 1984, something like
84,
that?
can't recall.
Um, but essentially, the guy who was doing the job got sick, and they pulled him up. They were like, "Hey, we need somebody. You're going to come with us, and you're going to do the Olympics." So
What did he
he
call?
he was a reporter, so he was like out getting the stories and doing interviews and pulling
Wow.
stuff like that. He was a journalist essentially.
So sick.
Um, But then he moved naturally into commentary and broadcasting, with his career in radio. He's just got that classic smooth, like, almost video game style, like, Australian accent commentary voice, like, deep, bassy, like, soft at the same time. And he didn't know a thing about disc golf before he came into it, but he's a pro. And I got in there first day, and he had a binder full of notes that he had taken. He had watched all sorts of podcasts. He had watched all sorts of videos. He would go up to players and say, "Oh, I've seen a lot of you. I've seen a lot of your sidearm." He's going out and buttering the players up. Um, and this guy still didn't quite understand the game of disc golf, but he did his job. And each round that we did 3 rounds the first day, 2 the second day, and then 1 the final day. And he fell in love with the game more and more each time that we did it. And it was so special. And the format, this mixed gender alt shot doubles match play, uh, was unbelievable. I hope they do the exact same format in the next World Games if we can possibly get into it in Germany. It delivered, Nate. It
Just like the
delivered. It was a
pace
wonderful
pace of it and
experience.
stuff, like, is 12 holes, right?
12 holes. It was gonna be 18. The original format said 3 matches of 18 to play out your pool in weather that was like 40 degrees Celsius, like 100 degrees. And so they brought it down from 18 to 12 like the day before. And the players, I'm pretty sure, obliged and were pretty happy with it for the most part. Um, the course was strange. The course was not like we see on the tour. There was a few par fours, there's no par fives, and a lot of like tricky, strange par threes, but it was on a very hilly land. The park was very nice in that regard. There were a lot of crepe myrtle trees, like nothing too tall. I walked the course and I was wondering how each player was going to play these. Some of the angles, I was like, I don't know what the shot is. I don't know if anybody's going to birdie this. And frankly, there were a couple holes like that where the design was not quite hit. However, the course designer Charlie Mead talked to the players and was like, "Yeah, you know what? I designed this course. I wasn't even able to have anybody come out and test it, but based on his experience, he's been in the game a long time. He did the best he could with the park that they gave him." And I always wonder, especially like this week on this property, sometimes if you take a course from 18 holes and maybe you change it to a 12-hole track, how good could the course have been? Instead of forcing certain holes in, if you just said every match was going to be 12 holes, you might have been able to put something spectacular together. But the land was amazing. And overall, the course grew on me each round. Some of the holes were super dynamic. And the whole dynamic of making your teammate tee off on one hole and then knowing that you have to tee off on the next, you can't tee off more than 2 holes in a row and you have to split evenly at some point. That was really exciting. I would get the assignments beforehand, and it was really cool to see, okay, well, coming up on this hole, this is a disadvantage for this team because they budgeted and put their best driver on this, this hole and this hole. But now on this crucial one, they have a disadvantage. So overall, the players learned the course and the players got better at strategizing around the course. And it made for some really compelling play with the alt shot format. It was really cool.
All right. And did you notice them, like you said that they were kind of switching up who was driving, like, from day 1 to till the finals, like, they kind of adjusted it and figured out which players were good on which drives?
They did. And hole 1 was one of those holes. So it's like 604 feet. And the initial landing zone is super skinny. So if you are not a 500-foot thrower, you have to throw to this tiny landing zone. So right off the bat, you have to budget your best thrower. Hopefully you have a power thrower on this hole. So Gannon initially was crashing over this tree line. The basket's super protected. So all you had to do is clear as much ground as you could and then spike hyzer over the trees, get the birdie. Gannon throughout the week was like, I'm just going to go for the eagle. I'm just going to throw 600 feet and try to get it onto the green. He was throwing this big DD3 flex over the water, which is exactly, I think, what the designer was hoping for. And then it bit him. Final day, Gannon goes for it off the bat. He's playing against Nestori Tukkanen, who also got the go-ahead to tee off on 1. And he tried to throw the flex and burned it out of bounds. And right off the bat, USA took a hole. And that was a tough precedent. But there were multiple holes like that, lots of reachable par 4s. And yeah, there was a lot of dynamic scoring. And 16, I think, was the big disappointment from the weekend. Again, the players talked to the course designer afterwards, and they gave him a lot of feedback and said, hey, this friendship ring on 16, this structure is so cool, so beautiful, and it was so close to being perfect. I think the tee needed to move forward 10 meters. Basket needed to move back 10 meters. And I think so many more players would have gone for it. It's like 250 to the structure, and it's a Mando. And the gap at its widest point is like 6 meters. So it's a
It's too
really
small.
small gap. Yeah, too small.
Yeah.
Everyone was chip hyzering right to the mouth, getting up and down. A couple players actually threw the friendship ring, is what it's called, and they threw in for 2. We saw Peksana do that actually to save a 3 after a bad approach from Latvia, and that kept them in the mix, and they ended up going on to win the match to take the bronze medal.
Story of the week.
Oh, it was amazing. And we'll
Story
talk
of the
about that in a
week.
quick second.
Latvia? Come on.
It was unbelievable. I loved it. And then Anniken Sten with Norway flicked one on the left side, flicked one through the gap and crashed it in for a birdie from there. But the only person that I saw hit the gap was Kristen. It was the second to last day getting to the gold medal match. And they got to that Dormy situation where they're down 3 to go. She had to run the gap and nails it. And then Silver, unfortunately, missed a putt just outside circle 1. They lost. But yeah, it was so close to being like the hole of the tournament, and it was a miss this time. But overall, the course was cool. And yeah, Nate, story of the weekend outside of the U.S. just dominating was Latvia. Reiners Belotis. I don't know if you've played with him or heard anything about him.
I have played with him a couple times. My first trip to Estonia, I played with him. He was 15 or 16 and already a crusher. And I've seen, is it Pekshana?
Peksana, yeah.
Yeah. I've seen her, have not, don't know too much about her game.
Stud, super stud, and again, super young. She's like 3-time Latvian champion already.
Wow.
She top 10 at PCS, so she beat quite a few good players there. And both of them were just rock solid. And the only time I saw shakiness was when it was coming down the stretch of the round to get to, I think it was the bronze medal match or the round to make it into the top 8 bracket. But she missed a couple of putts coming down the stretch and then made up for it and started drilling putts when it mattered most. And yeah, the two of them together, I think they're dating. I saw on Instagram that they're together. I hope I'm not wrong. I hope they haven't broken up since then. But they played together and the chemistry was there. Both of them were studs. And this is a country we don't think about when we think about disc golf. Nate, am I wrong?
Oh, certainly not. I mean, it borders Estonia, correct? So I think it's just kind of the sport is just kind of bleeding over into that part of the world.
And on top of that, competition was great. Broadcast in general, this is an entire broadcast team broadcasting to national Chinese television as well. Nate, guess how many people estimated watched the disc golf show before the gold medal match?
I can't even. I don't even have a gauge on that. There are 20 million people in the city, a billion people in China. I'm assuming
1.5.
1.5 billion people.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. US has 300 million, 330 million.
340.
It's crazy how much bigger that is. 700,000 watched in Finland on Ule. I don't know. Did a million people watch?
15 million estimated viewers for the matches before the gold medal match. I was told this morning.
From the national Chinese broadcast, 15 million people watched the World Games disc golf? Or total?
Disc golf.
Is that total? That's
No.
live.
Disc golf.
That's insane, man. I'm getting the chills. That's insane.
Well, I'm going to continue to give you them because I had so many good conversations with people in China 15. That are trying to push the sport and trying to jump through the hoops to get disc golf courses in the ground in China. They only have about 20 from what I've heard, and they started going in the ground in about 2020. So they are so fresh to the sport, so new to the game, but they are so committed. These guys that I met, they are quitting their jobs, putting everything they have into developing courses, running courses, doing clinics, selling discs, reselling other brands. To them, the sky is the limit, and they're so passionate about this game. And just the fact that this happened and that people came here to help out, and the players like Kristen and Missy and Gannon came, it meant so much to them. And it should, because this country has endless potential for this sport. And I'm so excited. I know production wise, they got better and better each day. This is a team that had never done disc golf before. So it's a hard game. It's a hard game to film. It's a hard game to produce for.
Very nuanced.
I'm going to go hug AJ Risley when I see him next. I'm going to go hug all the Jomez guys and praise them for the craft that they've owned over the past however many years they've been out here. It's a hard game, and I'm proud of the team that put together this broadcast. They committed heavily to it, and Championship Sunday, pouring rain the entire day. They made it work, and I'm so proud of everybody. So sky's the limit here. I think I'm going to try to get even more involved with trying to get us in the Olympics and the next World Games. And I spoke to a lot of the players, and they're kind of all on the same boat. They're kind of all feeling like, what can I do to get involved and get in front of the right people to help make this happen again? So yeah, overall, really successful trip. The food is so good. It's cheap, and I head back home tomorrow.
Wow, Brian. Man, really, really well done with that. I was reading a little bit about China and actually talking to my friend Brian Weissman, the guy that does the method. And he created this game, The Path of Exile. I think we talked about it a little bit.
I've played it.
Here, Path of Exile, you've played it?
Yeah.
Well, he ended up selling The Path of Exile to a Chinese company, I think Tencent or Tencent. And he was explaining to me the demographics, basically. Like China made that like one child policy a long time ago, and so all these families have one child, and it's like 20 to like 35-year olds are like only children, and they don't there's a lot of isolation. Like they struggle to find a partner. Like the genders are lopsided, and so video games like really took off, and there's a lot of only children that are by themselves and don't have a social life, and they just play video games. And Brian was talking about how like disc golf and other sports like it could just absolutely skyrocket over there, because there's 500 million people that like need some sort of connection. And it makes a ton of sense. And how great would it be if it did take off over there, to give someone a reason to get outside, to give someone a reason to go play a disc golf course and like go find their community, because you can find it in the video games, but it's just different when you get out there and like be with a group of people and have this very accessible sport. So I feel like it's just ready to pop over there. And it's can't believe that what you experienced, man. I'm so stoked for you to be a witness to that and play a role and call the shots at the World Games. I mean, what a notch in your career, right? To call something that's bigger than really anything our sport has ever been a part of. I mean, it's incredible to witness.
Yeah, thanks, man. I didn't get paid for it. I went there as a volunteer.
Wow.
Yes, I got the trip paid for.
Okay.
I got put up in the athlete village. I ate the cafeteria food. It was delicious. And I had some locals take me out for some hot pots, some noodles, and I got wined and dined out there. And yeah,
Wow.
it was special, man. And again, I didn't do this for any of that. I did this because I wanted to see the sport at the global stage, and I wanted to see it produced by a professional company with professional big time cameras, and I wanted to see what that looked like. And
Yeah.
frankly, although it made me excited, it made me really grateful for the DGN guys and how good they actually are. They don't get the credit that they deserve. They do not get told that they are doing a phenomenal job because this is a really specialized industry, and they've really mastered a lot of things that we take for granted. So overall, great trip. I think this is only the beginning for international growth in disc golf. We've experienced such an incredible stretch in Finland and Norway, and now here in China. But Nate, we had more disc golf happen.
Yeah.
Take over.
Well, I wanna ask you, did you try stinky tofu?
I might have. I ate a lot of stuff that I didn't know what it was.
You would
I
have
just took
known.
it out with my chopsticks and I just put it in my mouth, and it was delicious every time.
What was the best food item?
Mm.
What was the best thing you had?
Well, the thing is, the two meals that I had that were like outside of the cafeteria, that were like fancier, they pretty much just kept ordering bowls of stuff to the table, and I didn't know what it was, and I was just eating it. And essentially, you're just all like family meal. You take your chopstick and you're just pulling stuff out and eating it. I had no idea what it was. So some stuff was like stomach, some was like
Whoa.
ox throat, some
Whoa.
stuff was like pig head. But then there's like classic like spicy beef, and a lot of their meats, I guess, at least in Chengdu, are all served in like this really heavily seasoned broth, and you just pull it out of there, and that's what you're eating out of. And there's no rice, at least like from my perspective. I think 3 or 4 meals I went out total, rice was never part of what I ate, and I had the locals order for me every time. So it was really interesting. Because I know they say in some parts of China that you eat it with almost every meal, but in this part I had pretty much meat and veggies with water. They would serve you like a random fruit. They would give you like a plate of watermelon to eat to like cleanse your palate, which was great.
Great.
But yeah, just so good, so delicious. Yeah,
Were you
I
drinking
got
a
some
lot of
stuff.
tea? A lot of really
No, I
fire,
was drinking
like
a lot of
black
beer.
tea? A lot of beer. All right. What was the
They
what was the
say
beer like? Like
it was
lagers?
Tibetan beer. There was also
Oh.
another beer that had a can that looked like a 1980s oil can. It was a sick picture that I took. but they always say don't drink alone. So you don't just sit there and you're like sipping your beer alone by yourself. You always have to cheers with somebody. So anytime you want to take a sip of your alcohol, you have to like make sure somebody else does it with you. So
Great.
it was great, and I might adopt that in my personal life as well. Um, but yeah, great time. I'm going to stop talking about it. What else you got for us, Nate?
Well, it's 9 o'clock here, and it's probably 5 or 6 o'clock in Turku, Finland, and they're finishing up. The MPO round is coming down the stretch right now. They're on 15. I've kind of had it on in the backdrop over here. Uh, I watched a little bit of the FPO through the highlights. They're playing in the middle of the night over here, and Silva Sarnen's 1035 rated round two. Saw some highlights for that. 12 under, 7 down on the back nine. Putting was absolutely filthy. It says 2 for 3, circle two, but she had a couple like fairway putts as well. 8 for 9, circle one. Just one of her better performances. And then she kind of like slipped back into some nervy habits. Round three, she let Kaidi Alsalu back into the picture. Silva doubles the 15th, single bogeys the 16th, and like has every opportunity on the 17th and 18th to close it out, and just totally lets Kaidi back in there, and they go into a playoff. Kaidi birdies 15, gets 3 on her there. Birdie 17, gets 1 on her there, has the lead, gives it back up on the 18th, but they go into a playoff, and unfortunately, Kaidi bogeys in the playoff, but huge moment for her career. Is another name that we've seen before. I think the first time I really heard about her 2 years ago, she came over to the States, and it's like, is there really another, is like a Kristen mimic kind of, it's like, it's clear that she has kind of modeled her swing after Kristen, and,
Definitely.
it just has that little pump, and a lot is really similar. It goes with the straddle, just kind of flat spin from between the legs, and a little bit of nose up. But I don't know what sport she played previous, but she's in her mid 30s, and you can tell that she has been an athlete before, and just the way that she's transitioned into the game. This is the biggest moment of her career, though. Almost takes down Saarinen in Turku, 19 under par through 3 rounds. So the FPO was really shredding the track. Letomaki was on the lead card after round 1 and round 2. Just 3 bogeys round 1, 1 bogey round 2. 970 golf through the first 2 rounds, and then ends up shooting 3 over par. But
Yikes.
I thought it was just pretty special that obviously what we saw at Worlds with Letomaki, it cemented her in disc golf. I don't think she's going anywhere. I think she has the skill set to play this game full time. But to follow it up with a couple lead card performances, I think says a lot about like her ability to be consistent, even with the 898 rated final round, 3 over par. That's a doozy for sure, but she still gets top 10. But to show up after what happened at Worlds and play some good golf and like give herself a chance, be in the mix, I think it says a lot. Like she's totally here to stay. A star is for sure born there. And then Cynthia, I felt like was one of the stories. We saw her. She was the lowest rated person in the field in Estonia, and she shot, what would she shoot, 10-15 the first round, or 10-25 or something? She's 896 rated. Excuse me. She gets 4th place, top 5, just in front of Ida Emilia Nesse from Norway. So also another star. And is she from Latvia? Or is that, yeah, she's from Riga, Latvia. So honestly, a little surprised that it wasn't her on the Latvian team, but Yeah, we've got stars being born left and right over in Europe. I mean, go ahead.
I'm going to go because I saw one for the first time this weekend. Kristina Yursakova from Czech Republic. She's 14 years old. I think she's a
14?
two-time Czech champion already. She got second place when she was like 13 or something like that, or 12 or something like that. Yeah, she's ridiculous. She has like the most gorgeous flat spin putt, super aggressive player, great form in the backhand. And I think about a player like her. I think about a player like Force from Sweden, Letomaki, Amelia Nessa. There's a new wave of European FPO players coming up, and I really hope all of them keep their love for the game and don't burn out, because this is going to be just compelling golf for years to come, because we've been kind of waiting for this juniors FPO generation to start to rise up. A lot of our best players, a lot of our highly ranked players are in their late 20s and in their 30s.
Or
So
44.
this is great to see. For real. For real.
Crazy, man.
Yeah. So great to see. But yeah, look out for Yursakova from Czech Republic. She really impressed me this last week in China.
Cool.
And they tied the U.S. They were the only draw with the U.S.
Really?
Peter Striegler and Yursakova. Yeah, super impressive.
That's incredible.
Yeah, Gannon was salty. I sensed it. You know, they came home. I saw him in the cafeteria. He told me some stories about the day, and you could tell he felt it. He really felt the draw, but he came out the next day, smashed everybody, and they didn't lose a single match after that. So maybe gave him the chip on his shoulder he needed. But yeah, so many good young players in the Latvian team. Both of them, I think, are around 19, 20. And they came out and beat Kristen Lott and Silver Lott in the final day to get the bronze medal for their country. So yeah, I'm excited, man. When are we going to see this youth generation in the United States start to rise up?
Oh, it's coming. I mean, we've seen it a bit, right? You could say that about a lot of our stars, like Gannon Burr. It's just like snap of your fingers, and all of a sudden, 14 years old, 1,000 rated, and now he's the number one player in the world. So I think we will start to see it a little bit more. And Brian, I'm actually watching hole 18 right now. I believe Ezra Robinson just made the island, and that's going to be a dub. That's going to be a Ezra Robinson dub. Final hole.
No way.
He had to make the island to beat Calvin Heimberg, who was in at 25 under par. And this is the Laulavuri disc golf course, and the 18th is this little island with hay bales. Like, it's easy to miss the island. So there was a ton of pressure coming into that hole. But yeah, dub number 2. And it was coming down to the wire, right? Heimberg was at 25. Daniel Davidson was at 24. Marty Villman, 22. Lettinen, 22. Goose was in it. I think there were like 8 people within 5 strokes going into the back 9. So really, really compelling story there. There is a little bit of it could just be like a personal thing too, but it's like post Worlds, there's just something interesting that happens. Even though we have all these superstars, there's just like a little bit of a dropout, right? And it must be because the players like are putting everything into the World Championships, like and the event, like the scale of the event, like it's just hard to follow up. Right? I mean, the World Games, I think, is its own thing when you have 15 million people watching. But to follow up the World Championships like with another Pro Tour event, not knocking Turku in the slightest. I think it's a quality event. Seppo did an amazing job. There's a massive crowd behind the 18th as they're replaying the shot right now. Oh, did he skip? He skipped over the hay bales, Brian. He skipped over the hay bales on the 18th to make it in. It was short. And it skipped over. Calvin can't believe it. Oh, wow. That's crazy.
That's
crazy.
a bad beat. That is a bad beat.
That is a bad beat, man. That's flopping quads over the full house. That's crazy. Ezra Robinson, 2-time, man. Took him longer than I thought. Took him a little
Ezra?
longer than I thought. When he won at Supreme Flight, I remember saying on this pod, I'm like, I don't think Isaac's gonna beat him too many times because
I remember.
it's just like the golf that he was playing, it didn't seem it seemed repeatable for him. Right? It didn't seem like he was doing anything out of body at Supreme Flight. It was just like right in his zone, and he struggled to kind of repeat that, struggled to find that same mentality. I've seen him quite frustrated out on the course so far this season. So this is win number 2 for Robinson. Does that mean that he has more Pro Tours than Isaac now?
Yep, officially.
Isaac just has Idlewild, right?
Just one.
That's so funny. It's gonna be a classic social post. Like, hey, I've got more Pro Tours than Isaac. That's great, man.
Yeah. The thing about Ezra is his ceiling is arguably higher than Isaac's. Physical
now,
skill
what makes
ceiling.
you say that? What makes you say that? I don't disagree at all, but I'm curious to hear like what attributes about his game would give him the leg up.
I think when you just look at the overall skill set of the backhand, he has more tools in the arsenal. And when he's playing really, really well, he's playing spectacular. Like the way he played at Olympus was wonderful. And I'm just thinking he's got better distance. Frankly, he shapes the disc a little bit more aggressively than Isaac. Isaac doesn't try to shape the disc too much. So I'm just more thinking in regards to like the athletic ability to move the disc on the backhand. I would say that Ezra's forehand looks better than Isaac's forehand.
Okay.
And his putt is amazing. I mean, he's got a beautiful circle 2 putt when he's dialed in. I think his nemesis is when he misses short. But I'm talking about theoretical skill ceiling. Right now, Isaac, I still think is the better player just because of how rock solid he is. And also he has that X factor that no one really else has. Sullivan Tipton might have something close to that Isaac has. He might be major guy.
Man. Oh, I think he's got it. I mean, I've been big on him for a while. We've spoke about him on the pod. We talked about him before Worlds, and then he made a historic run. I felt like, I mean, he was in the game until I think was it the 10th and the 11th. He went double, single, and then it was over. But like you're in the tournament against the best in the world, against Gannon Burr, who like never had a bad round, never had a hot round, but Sullivan was co-leader 4.5 rounds in. So that's a historic run, regardless if he wasn't in it till the final. Sullivan totally has the X factor. He was hungry, showed up. To back up your Isaac and Ezra point, I think Isaac's the older brother, right? Just by a couple years. Yeah. I think there's a display of maturity that Isaac has that Ezra is starting to step into a bit more. I think Isaac is a bit better at, he has a shorter memory. Like he's a bit better at forgetting his mistakes. And I've just noticed that Ezra Robinson is a little bit more emotional. The reactions are a little bit more intense when he's not playing well. And that's the separator, right? That's the thing that can take you out of the moment, right? We saw Holland Hanley post about her 8th place at Worlds, and she keyed in on exactly that, right? She's like, look, my expectations are high. When I didn't meet my expectations, I started being really hard on myself, started being really negative, and that spiraled for the rest of the tournament, right? That's how the emotions get a player like out of their lane. And I see that with Ezra. Don't see it as much with Isaac, and I think that's one of the key differences, even if Ezra is throwing the disc a little better.
Yeah, well, I'm stoked to see him take down a win. Hopefully he takes this down. Gives Calvin the bad beat, unfortunately, but a win's a win. And that course is tough. I played that Turku course. It's a tough track. Seppo's done a good job. The track that I played is a little bit different than I think the track that the players are playing now. But that's very park style, but there are some great trees, and he uses the trees really well. But I have to ask something, and this can be our social media post for the week. This can be our engagement question.
Cool.
After Worlds, Thomas Gilbert joined us with Sophia Donica, and he said that he thinks that Sullivan Tipton has the best forehand in disc golf right now. And it's a bold claim because, yes, he has a phenomenal sidearm, but he's not normally those standard guys that we talk about towards the top. But I sat with that statement a little bit, and I started to think who I would put in front of him. What are your thoughts?
I think that we would need to like rate all the categories, right? Because when you say best sidearm in the game right now, like there are, how many categories are there? There's distance, there's touch, there's accuracy, there's consistency, precision, right? Just a speed control. There's so many different attributes like angle mastery, and I've seen a lot of insanely impressive stuff from Sullivan Tipton, and I think that 100% top 5 right now. But I think that's it's going to differ depending on like what you value, right? I think he's one of the longer throwers for sure, but certainly not the longest, right? And I think that when you have a player that like leans on their forehand a lot more, we get to see it more, right? So we know Sully is a forehand guy, so he's throwing shots and forcing some moments where you're like wouldn't think it's a forehand line, but because he has that angle control, like he's able to force it. Similar to a Sexton and a Coling. He's that kind of player where he's like flipping up a mid and landing it flat on a slope that you really see it as a backhand shot. So I don't really agree with that. I think some other players that come to mind don't use their forehand as much, right? Like Gannon Burr has mastery of the forehand, but he doesn't use it as much. Go ahead, Brian.
So here's a better question. Not who's the best forehand. If you wanted to be the best player you could possibly be, and you had to download someone's sidearm into your arm, who would you choose?
I mean, I've got to go with a couple of the greats. I've got to go between Coling and Sexton, but there's a depth of experience there that Sullivan hasn't earned yet. Even though he's a little baller and he's amazing with the flick, I think that both of those players are still in my mind. Like I would choose them if I had to tag them in for like a flip up late turn shot. I'm going to tag Coling in. If like I have to hit an island like 300 feet out into some wind, like, and I'm going to go Sexton with the Firebird. So Sully's for sure in my top 5 forehands that I've ever played with. Super impressive and crazy, such a little guy, and just smoking those nukes, flipping up those nukes like 500 at USDGC. Like that was blowing my mind. Like lighter weight.
Hang on. I got to dispel this. Sullivan Tipton has been called a littler guy. He is taller than me. I heard, because I've heard multiple people say,
but you're short, Brian.
Stature. I'm 5'9". I'm not that short.
We're talking about professional athletes though. Gannon Burr's like 6'5", AB's 6'4".
You don't need to be 6'5".
Well, the thing is though, is physics disagrees, right? The longer your levers are, like the more leverage you have on the disc, right? Like Rafael Nadal, small, smokes it compared to Yannick Sinner, giant. Like it's like you are physically at a slight disadvantage. Like AB or Eagle McMahon being able to wrap their crazy long arms around the disc and get that, they're gonna have more leverage. Like when you look at the physics of it. And I think it makes it a little bit more impressive that, you know, Sullivan is his size and stature and has the levers that he has and is able to generate a 500-foot worthy forehand, right? I think it makes it more impressive.
He's almost 6 foot. He's like 5'11 and a half. He might even be 6 foot. And that's what blew me away. Because I think from afar, you're like, oh, yeah, he's a smaller guy in stature. And then I walked up to him and I'm like, I'm not that small, am I? I'm not that small. I might be shrinking a little bit, Nate. Who knows?
You're not shrinking.
But
you're perfect
thanks,
size,
bud.
Brian. You're perfect. You're perfect height, you know?
Shout outs to you, Nate.
So is Sully, clearly. He's the perfect size.
Well,
little baller. Overlooked, man.
So who's the guy? One sidearm to rule them all. Who do you download into your arm?
Oh, that's tough, man. That's really tough. All time? All time?
Yeah, just pick one.
I got to go with Jeremy Colling because I love the mid control, the mid flip up, and the late turning shot. He's one of the players that inspired me. And I loved playing against him. I would get so psyched up because I'm like, I can do that too, Jerm. Like I can throw that shot too, and I'd like try and match his shots. And you know, I had full mastery of the forehand at a certain point in my career, and never quite got, you know, to his level. So I would go Colling, but. Right now, Sullivan has got the results, right? He's turning his forehand skill set into results at the highest level. So it's hard to really argue against it right now. This snapshot in time, hard to argue against Gilbert's claim that Sullivan-Tipton is the best with the forehand. Who do you think?
Yeah, Colling is probably my favorite. Big Germ sidearm is just one of the most beautiful things, and he can do it with any disc you give him. I would say his hyzer flip game is still stronger than Sully's, but right now Sullivan's just golf flex shot, like what he throws with those Raptors. He was actually throwing a Raptor on hole 5 at the Beast, which a lot of people were backing down to like that zone harp slot.
That's touchy. That's really touchy to land that.
That's the reason why I think I would either download his or Rick's forehand into my arm, because I don't want chooser's paradox. I played on the tour as a dominant sidearm player. Like that's what I threw most of my shots with. I found myself forcing it because that was what I was most comfortable with. And Same. I got myself into a lot of trouble because of the lack of spin you can get compared to a backhand. So frankly, if I were to choose, I would want someone who's just got that golf shot perfect. And right now, that's what Sullivan's got. So, and frankly, I'm liking his forehands a little bit more than Rick. So I'm going to agree with Thomas Gilbert.
Cool.
Sully, you're the guy right now. You don't let me down. Don't you let me down, my friend.
Well, where are they playing next, dude? Are there? I see people at Ledgestone already. They're flying? Yeah, August 14th. So there's quite a few people sticking around Finland. Finnish Nationals are the same weekend. August 14th. And are you working Ledgestone at all? Are you flying all the way back here?
I took time off. I took some PTO. I'm not going to be working Ledgestone, unfortunately. It's an event that I always work that tournament.
Same.
I still work with Ledgestone quite a bit.
Okay,
there's still some Bearheart discs coming out this year.
Oh, cool.
But I can't say it yet because it's like something we're still working on figuring out. It's a disc that we don't know if we can make yet.
Okay.
And it's going to be a catch disc if we can pull this off. But anyway,
sick. So then the next event we're working is Idlewild. I'm flying to your crib. We're calling.
You're coming to my house,
dude. I'm so excited for that one.
Well, Nate, I'm excited for you and I to be in the booth. I'm excited to do some hosting. I'm excited for you to do color with me. It's going to be a great time. We've gotten a lot of good experience this year. And Nate, anything else you got for the people before we wrap this thing up?
Disc golf's in a great place. I think it's crazy that we had each sequential event got bigger and bigger, right? You didn't think it could get any bigger than Estonia. It did. 700,000 people watching FPO live. more people watched live. I'm not sure if we got the final, but more people watched Ida Letomaki live than watched the MPO later at the finals. And then I just am still floored at 15 million people watching the World Games. It's insane. So stoked for you. I watched a little bit of it, and it's just the friendship ring that you were talking about. I saw the Anakin throw in, and yeah, it's just crazy for our sport to be like blooming like this. It's like we heard so much about like, oh, it's dying, like post COVID. Everyone's still like, there's chatter online. I still see where people are like, oh, it's disc golf's like not doing so well. And I'm like, no, I don't. I think you need to open your eyes a little bit. I think it's actually doing better than it's ever done, like by far. So I'm just happy to be a part of it. Happy to witness other people get to experience it. You said you saw someone's first frisbee toss in China. Probably a few.
Yeah, it was.
That's crazy.
You could tell that they did not know what to do with it, but they had a World Games stamped disc. They had one of these right here that I'm going to bring home.
Is that Yikun or Yikun?
I think it's a Yikun Ultimate disc that they make. Cool. This is a Chinese-based company. I met the owner. He's a nice guy. Cool. And he was like holding the disc out, and this guy like didn't quite know, and he didn't throw it to anybody. He just went wobbly 40 feet, went, picked it up, tried to throw it again. I think I watched somebody's brain start to like grasp how a disc flew for the first time, which was kind of cool. But Nate, last thing I have to say to the people, like you said, I don't care if disc golf is quote unquote dying or disc golf is growing. I know how it makes me feel. I know how it makes you feel. And there are people in China who love it so much that they are trying as hard as they can to make this thing known to the entire country. And there's only like 20 courses that have been around since 2020, and it's a 1.5 billion person nation. We are still in the infancy. Be a little optimistic. Go out in your own community. Make something happen. Go do a free clinic. Go clean up your local course. Go be a leader and make this thing happen. Because we got people overseas here in Chengdu and in Beijing that are doing exactly that. So that's what I'm leaving the people with. Cool. It's still up to us. It's still grassroots. Let's make this thing happen. We're going to get to the Olympics, Nate. One of these days, we're going to be old.
We're going to call it. We're going to call it. We're going to be calling the Olympics,
and we're going to call it.
Yeah, we're going to call it. Man, you know what? We got Northwood Black next week. Can't wait to return to that and see how they've cleaned that one up. Eureka as well. That's always a great tournament. Always delivers. Peoria, not my favorite place in the world, but one of my favorite places to watch disc golf. Disc golf is pretty sick there. So looking forward to next weekend's event, and I'll see you on Sunday for the pod, Brian.
That sounds good, my friend. Thanks to you, Nate. Thanks to our producer, Tosi, who's actually sharing a room with me. He's here right now. Don't come in frame. He's a little embarrassed. We were roommates. He came over here as a broadcast liaison and did a phenomenal job. Moved a bunch of mountains, made a bunch of things happen that needed to happen. Good night, folks. I'm going to come back home to my wife. I'll see ya. Bye-bye.